Good morning. This is Shelley Tabb, and I want to thank you for joining this presentation where we're going to talk about advanced care planning with your voice, your choice. Get to the next slide. So before we get started, I wanted to share with you the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium document called Know Your Rights, and it's on their website. And some of your rights in healthcare choices that are protected by state and federal laws are you have a right to have your wishes respected and to be treated with dignity. You have a right to know about your health condition. You have a right to know about your treatment options and including the risks and benefits of treatment. You have a right to say yes or no to any or all medical tests or treatments. You have a right to have your pain and symptoms treated, and you have a right to make an advanced healthcare directive. Just to introduce myself, my name is Shelley Tabb. I'm a program coordinator with advanced care planning at Peace Health Ketchikan. I've lived in Ketchikan for 10 years with my family, and I've been trained in advanced care planning with Honoring Choices Pacific Northwest. Okay, so before we get started, if you don't already have the blank form, please pause this presentation and visit this website at the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, and you can download and print that document. If this is your first time creating an advanced directive, we encourage you to think of this as a worksheet, something that you can edit, something that you can add to. If you prefer, use pencil or sticky notes to allow for mistakes or questions or reconsiderations. And then once it's complete, it's not set in stone. It can be revised and revisited at any time. If you have someone in mind who you want to be named as your medical decision maker on your behalf, please invite them to join you in this conversation. So here's an overview of today's topics. We are going to discover medical advanced care planning and why it's important. We are going to reflect on your values and personal beliefs. We will select your healthcare agent or your medical decision maker. You'll learn to express your wishes in a legal document or advanced health directive. And then you'll also learn how to share and store that document. So what is advanced care planning? Advanced care planning is just what it sounds like. It is the process of thinking in advance about the care we would want if we had a medical event or condition, and who would speak for us if we could not speak for ourselves. It involves creating a plan, putting that plan in writing, and sharing it with those who would have some investment in our care. I hope that our work today inspires planning in the related areas of aging in place, in-home care, supported living options, palliative care and hospice, body disposition, and final arrangements. So what is an advanced healthcare directive? An advanced healthcare directive has two parts. The first part is the durable power of attorney for healthcare. So that's who will speak for you if you were unable to speak for yourself. And the healthcare directive. And those are the decisions that you would want your healthcare provider and agent to make for you. So advanced care planning is the big umbrella, and under the umbrella includes the legal documents of advanced directives, the things we just talked about, like that living will, the durable power of attorney for healthcare. And it also includes medical orders, which is the POLST, the portable order for life-sustaining treatment, and also DNR, or do not resuscitate. Okay, so let's take a look at the first page of our healthcare document. And you'll notice up at the top that you have the option of naming one healthcare agent and then also two alternate agents if you wish. They don't have to be filled out. You can just name, your primary one and not name any alternates at all. You can include one alternate and not a second one. It's really up to you with who you want to have speak on your behalf. So you have those options. And then below, you can cross out things that you don't want your healthcare agent to be able to decide on your behalf. For instance, hiring or firing healthcare workers, um, providing or withholding artificial nutrition or hydration. You may decide that you want them to be able to make all those decisions. And so then you just leave it as is, or you can cross out the ones that you do not want them to make for you. And then at the bottom, you'll write your name and date of birth. So when you're choosing a healthcare agent, let's think about some of the requirements that are involved. First one, of course, is that they need to be a legal adult, so 18 years old or older. Um, they may not be your physician or physician's employee, with the exception of if they are family. And they may not be an administrator, owner, or an employee of a facility where you live or receive care. And those stipulations really protect you from any conflicts of interest that might get in the way of, you getting the care that you desire. Qualities of a good healthcare agent are being willing to have conversations with you about your values and wishes, being able to follow your wishes, even if they disagree with those wishes for themselves, be able to make decisions in stressful and emotionally challenging situations, and of course, that they agree that they are willing to be your healthcare agent. So one common question is, what happens if you don't choose a healthcare agent? And on this image here, we have the Alaska State legal hierarchy of decision makers. And so up at the tippy top, is in the rare instance that you had a guardian appointed by the state. Generally, most people are not going to have that. And so next down the hierarchy is the individual of the person that you name as your healthcare representative. Below that is your spouse. Next in line are your adult children, should you have any. After that, your parents, your adult siblings, or a adult relative or close friend. Please note that these asterisks where multiple people are involved, that all of those people, if you didn't designate one, would have to agree in your, course of care. So one of the reasons why we encourage people to pick one person is then you kind of eliminate that conflict that can come up if you have people who disagree on what your care should look like. And it really can, hurt relationships and, cause a lot of discord in a time that's already very, very stressful for a family. So we really encourage people to name that person so that it's very clear who you want speaking on your behalf. Okay, so let's move along to page 2. So page 2 are your instructions for healthcare. And things to note here is that we are talking about having a serious injury or illness that cannot be cured. So the first question for you, and it's a one or the other, is the length of my life is most important to me, even though I may need intensive care and life support treatments long term. Other people value the quality of their life. And so they may wish to avoid long term intensive care and life support treatments and allow for a natural death. And in this, it says, when I'm at the end of my life. Now, the nice thing about this form too is that it does give you the ability to write comments. You could make a comment about how long you'd want to be on life support. Those are questions to consider. It's like maybe you would want to be on life support for, give it a try for a week or a few days, and then, discontinue it if it was no longer being helpful. Those are all things that you can write down in this comment section and in the comment sections of subsequent pages. Other things to ask yourself is what's most important to you? Like how long would you be willing to be on life support? What's your most hoped for outcome? What would you like to, if you were to leave the hospital, what what's most important to you? Is it being independent and being able to do all of the things that's listed in this middle section? Or is it just a few? And so with this section, you can initial more than one. So I'm not, you have the health condition that will never improve, and it can't be cured. Uh, and this is when you would choose comfort care. So if you were not able to care for yourself, like feed, bathe, or take care of your hygiene without help or dress, you would initial that one. So those are things to consider. And like I said, you can initial more than one, or put something else in the other section. Um, the last part deals with where you would want to spend the remaining days of your life if you were at the end of your life, whether that would be in a home or home-like setting, if you'd want to have those last days be in the hospital, or just leave it up to your healthcare agent when the time comes. So let's move on to the next page. Page 3. Okay. So now these are some things to consider. In the last days of your life, what are some things that would bring you comfort? Would you want somebody from a, a spiritual or religious community to visit with you? Would you want certain types of music to be played, or certain people that you would wish to see? All of those are things that you can write down in this section. After that, it talks about whether or not you'd want to be an organ donor. And it lets you specify uh, all, or only certain parts that you'd want to donate. And then after your death, whether you'd want to be buried or cremated, and where you'd like your final resting place to be. The last section deals with CPR, and it deals with if your heart stops beating or your breathing stops and you're at the end of your life, whether or not you would want to be resuscitated or not. And let's take a look at this infographic. This is a CPR guide that talks about whether or not what CPR is, would CPR work for you, and then what are some of the outcomes from CPR. If you have any questions about whether CPR would be right for you in your current situation, the best person to talk to would be your healthcare provider. So let's move along. Okay, so now we are on page 4, and we are going to talk about life support treatments. And so again, this is something that you're going to think about the quality of life that you'd want for yourself and your most hoped for outcome. If your most hoped for outcome is I want to go home and live, independently, then, if that was not a possibility, what would you want to do? So the choices, and you have to initial one, is living as long as possible when medically appropriate with life support treatments. The middle road is more like I want to try it and see if I get better, but stop it if I am not getting better, it's adding to my suffering. And then the last one is I do not want life support treatments. I wish to allow a natural death with comfort care only. And then below you can write other wishes or ideas pertaining to that. And the last little box deals with whether or not you would want artificial nutrition, if you wanted them to help feed you if you were unable to eat food or drink fluids safely on your own. So let's move along. Let's see. So let's talk about dementia as a terminal condition. Dementia is a condition that is not necessarily covered by most medical advance directives, and the American Medical Association has declared dementia to be a terminal condition. So in light of this, Dr. Barak Gaster made a healthcare directive for dementia that helps you match your goals to medical care according to the stage of the disease. So if you were in the very beginning stages of dementia, for instance, you could likely choose like full treatment. Where as you moved further um, into, the condition getting more severe, you may want to, specify that you'd want like a DNR, or if it was severe, that you wouldn't want to go to the hospital or, stay in intensive care. You'd want to just be focused on comfort care at home. And so that document really helps a person with that diagnosis kind of tailor their advanced directive for the stage of dementia that they're in and where they will be in the future. Okay, so this is the final page of the advanced directive. So you have a couple options with how to make this legal. The first thing that you need to remember is do not sign this until you are with your witnesses or the notary. Um, and so And then please note the witness requirements in the gray box. So if I chose a notary public, I would, fill out my information, and then the notary public would fill out the bottom information and seal it, and that would be it. If you decided that that would be, it was hard to get a notary, it was just easier to have two witnesses, then this route, you need to make sure that your witness is an adult, so 18 years of age or over, and that they're not a healthcare agent listed on the healthcare directive, a healthcare provider who takes care of this person, or an employee of this person's healthcare provider or health clinic. And then in addition, one of the witnesses can't be related by blood, marriage, or adoption, or entitled to this person's money, property, or shares or permits. And all of these, once again, are just to prevent those conflicts of interest so that you can make sure that you are getting the care that you want without, any other motivations getting in the way from other people. So here's a quick note on advanced directives versus POLST. So a POLST is a out of hospital medical order, and sometimes it's referred to as a DNR order. And it's appropriate for people who are seriously ill or frail, where advanced medical treatment may cause harm. So in that case, somebody who has a really volatile health condition that would cause them to, say, call EMS. And so the firefighters come. And so if it would cause more harm than good for a firefighter or a EMT to perform CPR or other in the field, measures to keep this person alive, that is where the POLST comes in. And so it is a medical order signed by the doctor, and it gets posted in the home of the person, and it has to be signed by a medical doctor in the state of Alaska. Down south, there are other, medical professionals who can sign it, like a nurse practitioner. But up here in Alaska, it has to be an MD for now. And then that guides care if, an EMT or EMS had to come to your door and offer assistance. If you're interested in knowing whether a POLST is a good option for you, you would definitely want to talk to your healthcare provider. Um, and again, who would be considered for a POLST? Somebody with a reduced life expectancy, having a condition that has brought them to the end of their life, an increased risk of harm. CPR can cause things like broken ribs, and other, uh, things that maybe people don't want to experience. And so medical conditions that, uh, make their health kind of volatile or variable, and the fact that they would be more likely to call EMS. And then too, like their personal values or preferences. Those are all reasons for somebody to have a post form signed at their house for emergency services to follow if they were called. So let's think about advanced care planning, like next steps. Um, think about who you want your healthcare agent to be and have a conversation with them about your wishes. It's a very good idea to have this conversation with other family members or anyone who might show up at your bedside in order to avoid any conflict. Um, and then too, really talking with your chosen healthcare agent and making sure that they understand completely what your wishes would be and that they would be able to be that person for you and support um, those wishes, even if they didn't necessarily agree. Um, and then you would complete your advanced healthcare directive form, which includes, choosing that agent and the instructions for healthcare, and then get it um, either witnessed or notarized. Um, so after that, you would make copies of your advanced healthcare directive documents and keep the original. You would then give copies to your healthcare agent, your primary care provider, and carry a copy into your local hospital. And you can mail or fax a copy to be on file as part of your medical record. If Peace Health is your local hospital, you can, and in Ketchikan it is, you can walk it in, mail it in, fax, scan, or email. You can call the number below to confirm that your advance directive is on file once you submit it or turn it in, and make sure that it's in your medical record. They can check that for you. Another thing to think about is, continuing the conversation and revise as needed. And in this case, we refer to it as the 6 Ds. And so a good time to think about revising or taking another peek at your current advanced directive would be by the decade, because things change in your life from decade to decade. After a divorce, perhaps the person that you named as your healthcare agent is no longer that person. A diagnosis where you may have to reconsider, choices that you want to make about your healthcare. Uh, a decline in your health or your healthcare agent's health. That is definitely something to consider if that, healthcare agent, would not be able to uh, be your agent anymore because of a health condition. And likewise, the death of somebody named in the document, or, you've moved and maybe the person that you had to speak for you now lives across the country, and you want to pick somebody closer. Those are all things to consider when you're thinking about revising your document. One last thought that I want to give to you is that advanced care planning is a gift to your loved ones. Even though these conversations are difficult to have and most people want to shy away from them because, frankly, they are uncomfortable and nobody likes to think about the worst case scenario with their life or the life of, somebody that they really care about. Um, but what advanced care planning does for your loved ones is it empowers them to make decisions that align with your wishes. It frees them from the uncertainty of having made the wrong choice. And it prevents discord among loved ones because decisions have already been made by you. Um, and so those are all great reasons that all adults 18 and over should have a advance directive on file. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming to my presentation. I really appreciate the time and effort that it takes to plan, make an advance directive and choose a healthcare agent. And yeah, if you have any questions about advanced care planning, they can be found on the website listed below. And I just want to thank you for your time.